A man collapsed in the lobby of a hotel, and I saw him lift up and go to the top of the ceiling. I said to the people I was with, he's not coming back. He's up there. And they said, oh no, he's gonna make it. I said, he's not coming back. Within 30 minutes, this man came to me and said, go tell my wife I'm not coming back. I turned to my friends and I said, the man that's laying on the ground is talking to me and he's telling me to go tell his wife he's not coming back. And they just turned and they just, they looked at me. And I did. I went over to the wife. I said to her, no matter what you're about to hear, I want you to know that everything is well with your husband. He's okay. This is said to be the time where the greatest rise from the lowest, most dense forms of frequency and vibration, we are making the greatest rise right now. One day outside of space-time, we will be celebrated that we walked to the earth plane during the time of the Great Awakening.
Well, hello, Darnella Ford. Welcome to the show. I'm truly honored by you joining me and looking forward to our conversation. How are you feeling today?
I am feeling, Brad, we're going to let the viewers in on a little secret. It has been a journey for us to make it this far. So this is going to be an incredible interview because we've had quite an interesting, just getting the technology down. So I'm looking forward to take us out of the world, literally.
Oh, cool. I love that. Well, I tell you, we do have the technology working now, and you are on location live.
Literally.
And literally. Well, that's beautiful. It's definitely unique, but it is worth it because we're going to have a great discussion.
Thank you so much.
Every week, we bring you powerful stories about life after death, awakening, and what it means to be human. And if that resonates, you'll love what's coming today. Today, I'm joined by Darnella Ford, a mystic, storyteller, and messenger of unseen realms. And she's walked through the darkest landscapes of the soul and returned with stories, maps, and medicine. She's an award-winning author with an extensive background in quantum physics and neuroscience. And she's also a guide for those navigating heartbreak, despair, addiction, spiritual isolation, or the disorienting beauty of awakening itself. Her journey began in 2006 when a devastating heartbreak sparked a spontaneous out-of-body experience that shattered her understanding of reality. And since then, she's explored other dimensions, encountered non-human teachers, and learned about soul curriculum, frequency, and the deeper architecture of love. Today, we'll talk about trauma as a doorway, how to stay grounded through multidimensional experiences, and what she's learned about reincarnation, death, and why, no matter how dark it gets, something is always possible. So Darnella,
that's right.
Thank you for joining. Welcome to the show.
Thank you again. And, I want to start off by saying, as I'm sitting and I'm listening, and I'm feeling like what it would feel like to the viewers watching this in a non-traditional format out here, people passing behind me, something reminded me, this is so much like life. You can have it all planned out and then it goes to the left. And the key is, can you be flexible? Can you be adaptable? Can you roll with the flow even when it looks out of the norm? So I think that's a challenge for the viewers, maybe as they're watching people pass back and forth. And that's a challenge for me, being in this environment, but yet still giving you the very, very best of me. So I'd like to jump in right there with what this moment is teaching us both in this moment. So,
well, all these podcasts are teaching in so many ways, and so many people take away different lessons that apply directly to them. And, I think you might have heard the famous saying from Mike Tyson is everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Right.
Yes,
and so,
yes.
Right. And so today we got punched in the face a little bit, some network problems, some other issues. And then we said, what, let's just find a location with a network and a possibility to have this anyway.
Yes.
So here we are. We're living life live.
Live. Thank you.
Many of the guests that come are NDE experiences, near-death experiences, right? And today we're really going to focus on OBE, out-of-body experience. Mm-hmm. That's what Darnella has been doing for 19 years. And I think it's amazing because an NDE is kind of out and back one time, but an OBE is over and over and over and really having the experience so many times that you can spend a lot of time on the other side. And when you do that, you kind of have all these experiences that are so different from here, but you kind of realize what this part of our world is all about. This physical manifestation must have some sort of purpose, and it really gives you a perspective on that.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, and that's really, I think, going to help the viewers. They're going to have so many questions, as I do too, along the way. I hope I ask the questions the viewers questions are forming in their mind, so we really make this a rich conversation.
Thank you.
I thought we'd start off by going back to 2006 and really jumping into what started and initiated your OB experience. And then certainly after that, there's just 19 years of what happened and how you integrated it, how that helped you and how that can help others.
Yes, thank you so much. Again, thank you. Thank you. Thank you to the viewers for your patience with this moment. And thank you, Brad, for your grace. 2006, yes, let's go back to 2006. I would say it was one of the more challenging years in terms of just my emotional state. I had reached a point in my life, I thought I had found the man of my dreams. I always say every good story starts off with a love story, right? So I just knew I had found the man of my dreams. This was the person I was going to walk through this thing called life with. Well, we had 2 amazing years, and then it just ended. And I struggled with the ending because it was a culmination of the collapse of every relationship. This was the mother of collapses. So I went into a very dark place and just, I cried for 9 months straight. I literally thought, I am never, ever going to get over this man. I said, I don't know who this man is, but I cannot get him out of my system. So really in desperation, Brad, I went into myself. I literally turned inward and said, I have to start meditating or praying, or I was trying to come up with a solution because I could not find a way out of the sadness. And I, at the same time, had started studying quantum physics, had started working with a master teacher because I was just really trying. So I wanted to try something so far out of the pocket of where my life was. And I was doing these breath exercises and this deep breathing work. And I was studying. My head was always literally in the clouds at that time in terms of the mysteries of the universe. One night, went to bed, got up to use the restroom, looked back, and I was shocked to observe that my body did not join me. In that moment, immediately I'm thinking, oh, for sure, I have died, because how could I be here and the other part of me be over there? I'd never had any experiences like that. I also want to preface this to say, some people have mystical experiences as children. Some people have a lot of awareness as children. Brad, was not one of those children. The only thing I saw as a child was sitcoms and cartoons. Okay, I was not having any elaborate experiences. So I was very rooted in 3D reality, very much thought how the world would move forward. And the moment this happened, it's like I went up into a kaleidoscope of colors, almost like pulled through a wormhole that was interweaving, interlocking patterns, ended up in the great void. Just this black space of almost emptiness, but a midnight black. I saw little pinpoints of stars and me moving through this space. Boom, then back in my body. Sat up, immediately said, whoa, what was that? What just happened to me? So from there, I began the deep dive into trying to understand what that was. Then the concept of near-death experience came into my awareness. I began to study Robert Monroe. I started studying out-of-body experiences. I started reviewing Raymond Moody and some of the forerunners like P.M. Atwater, people who were talking about near-death experiences and studying it and sharing about it and writing about it. So also, was it William Bowman who did Out-of-Body Adventures? I studied that book. That book became like my life force, just pouring myself into understanding. And I wanted to, it was curiosity to know what happened to me and can I replicate that experience again? That began a 1-year-long study where I would wrap myself into a cocoon in a blanket and I would minimize all movement. And I'd literally wrap myself around and around and around in a blanket, arms by my side like a mummy. And I'd sit for 2 hours, 3 hours sometime, not moving, just sitting there, and I would project my consciousness beyond. I would just still, breath, project. And I did this for 3 weeks or so. Nothing was happening. I thought, this is probably ridiculous. Next thing you know, one day when I least expected, I popped right out and into another dimension. Well, initially I was just in my living room area. Initially I was just in my house, but that changed very, very quickly. And I ended up flying into other universes and meeting other teachers and having all kinds of incredible experiences. But here's the interesting thing. Going back to that time, it was I was having a really hard time emotionally. I was struggling with depression, something I'd always struggled with, struggling with unrequited love, feeling like you want to find love, but you can't hold love, you can't keep love, and this desperate search for love. I was on this love quest, this love journey. But when I began out of body traveling, it was almost like a curriculum was coming together for me outside of physical reality that was inspiring me to look somewhere else other than all these men I was chasing down here through the streets every day. Okay. And that is when I really began to feel a shift in my spiritual awareness that would take me into some of the most fantastic, some of the most terrifying, and some of the most awesome, inspiring places and realms that I've ever experienced.
Oh, yeah, no, that's amazing. And it's so interesting because with the NDE experiences, oftentimes they go over one time and there's a discussion and sort of maybe a life review. And then do you want to stay or go? And then you come back, and then there's a lot of that stories, right? But in your case, it's not really that purposeful. You can go over to the other side and do about anything you'd like in whatever dimension you might end up in. And it might be intentional, or you might just experience whatever happens to you. So it's so much broader. And so, and it's interesting that you did this initially out of, surprise. It kind of happened to you, but then you were able to figure out how to then repeat it. And you've done that over the years. So what was the technique that ultimately you found for yourself that like tonight, you can just, do these things and you will then leave your body?
Okay, so here's where it gets really tricky. And I'm so glad you asked, because I know people want to learn and people do teach this. My initial intention after the first time this happened to me and I realized that there was something other than this, was to just replicate it and have another experience. I never was able to truly qualify or quantify exactly what that experience would be. So it's kind of like every day was Christmas, because it's like you get a package, you open it up, and you never knew what you were going to experience. One thing I have come to learn for me and my understanding, I have these experiences as it is pertaining to my human evolution here on the earth plane, as it's pertaining to expanding me, as it's explaining to teaching me, right? So here's the thing, it's very intentional, it's very purposeful. I don't always know where it is. So now, these days, I never try. First and foremost, never try. I know with certainty when I am leaving to have a lesson, it will happen at exactly the time it's supposed to. Now, I will say in the early days, I experienced the whole concept of sleep paralysis, and you literally feel like you're inside a paralytic tomb, and your mind is wide awake and your body's paralyzed. I experienced all of that. I experienced the elevation of the vibration where you experience the shaking, the loud sound. I don't leave that way anymore. Once I became adept at doing it, now I went through stages. That would be the first day, the sleep paralysis, the shaking, the vibration, then the rising up out of the body. Then I went through a period where I didn't even have the sleep paralysis, none of it. I just started to rise up. I didn't even have consciously go through that. Then I would also have the process where I would lay down. My least favorite way of coming out was I dropped straight through my chest, straight through the bed, straight through the floorboard, straight into another dimension. That's very disorientating to drop straight out this way. Don't like that. Matter of fact, I stopped. I requested, please, I don't like to come out that way, because you're literally, imagine laying on your belly in your bed and you're just laying there. Next thing you know, you fall through the mattress and you're gone. That's very disorientating. Don't like to come out that way. Another way that I actually do like to come out, that sometimes will happen, is just feet first, and I'll be pulled up by my feet and I'll float out to the top of the ceiling and just hover. And that's just, like I said, that's fun. That's like, that feels like a little kid at the jump for trampoline park. And everybody likes me to do a backflip. So it's like I'm coming up like that. But I don't really use any of those ways anymore. Now it is simply this. closing my eyes, and I am blinking out of one dimension and blinking right into another. That's how I come out now. So I bypass all of the traditional ways. And now I just literally take my consciousness, highly focused in the physical reality. I can close my eyes, go into a twilight, and I'll blink it. It'll blink right into the next dimension. And that just bypasses all the time of trying to get out. I don't have to try anymore. And it's almost like this. Imagine you're here, right? You and I are talking and communicating, connecting. Imagine you were to close your eyes, and when you open them, you were in your hometown, or you were back in your 8th grade school. So it literally is like that. But again, it's very purposeful where I go. It's never just for no reason that I'm entering a plane. And that's what I really want people to know about OBEs, at least from my perspective. I also want to say, of course, every person that you talk to is going to maybe say something a little bit different. Everybody has their own version and their own translation of what they're experiencing, how and why. I always qualify this by saying this is not the truth. I never propose to promote to anybody that I have the truth. This is my truth from the land that I have stood on and the world that I have experienced. So this is my truth and from what I've seen. And it's been a progression in how it has advanced for me. But again, everything is purposeful. And I would love to share some of my stories and give you an example of what I mean by that.
Yes, no, that's great. So what I'm hearing here is a couple of things. Is first of all, you're invited to go to the other side, and when you get to the other side, it's for a reason, and it takes you through experiences for a reason that then you can apply back here to this life here. So I like that. I like that a lot. You know, it's funny because I do know that there's a lot of other folks that are trying. They haven't been invited, and they're trying to do it themselves. So at night they're listening to binaural beats, and they're trying to get into sleep paralysis, and they're trying to separate and go to the other side. They're kind of going through those introductory steps that you'd mentioned. And some of them actually make it. But it kind of feels like when they do, they're kind of a wedding crasher, right? It's like they weren't invited, but they figured out how to sort of, spoof the system and get over there, and they do. And by the way, when they do, they have very real experiences, and they can confirm all the ideas that yourself and other folks share on this particular topic. So I think that's amazing. But so in your case, no, you were actually invited. A small percentage of the population is invited, very small percent. And that's probably because, those stories should be shared. You should have those experiences. That helps other people to hear the stories. But if everybody had an out-of-body experience, then we wouldn't really, as a population, be here for the reasons that we're here.
That's exactly right. What you just said something, and I want to just pause for a minute because there's some truth coming up to what you're just saying, because I know that it seems like OBEs are the thing now, right? That's the craze. Everybody wants to have them. What is more important than having the OBE itself? It's not all the fantastic stories that you come back with. Oh my God, I have stories that'll blow your wig back. I really do. I have things that I have lived and seen that I can't even articulate in language. However, what I realize, it's not about the story. It's not even about the journey itself. It's about extracting the high level of wisdom and then being able to integrate that into your 8 a.m. Monday morning experience, or into your relationship, or into your soul purpose, or integrate that into your soul contract. I wish people could understand. And if anybody passes this way and they're interested in OBEs, and they can really hear me when I say this. It is my understanding, it is all by divine design that you have these experiences, and these experiences are purposeful for something that potentially you're to do on the earth plane. Maybe for me, the reason because I've said, why am I having this? Because I wasn't, and I had no special spiritual gifts as I thought as a child. I was a very average, I was myself a regular chick, regular girl. So why am I seeing the keys to the kingdom? Why am I being given this? But yet, Brad, later I would come to understand, because I was to teach I was to teach. I was to help elevate the quality of humanity's consciousness. And that's why I'm being shown certain things, not just for my entertainment. I've never done this for entertainment, even just for passive curiosity. It has a very specific purpose in terms of guiding me and helping me, because I do work with people and I do teach and I do guide. I am a bridge between two worlds. I am a bridge between the non-seen realm and the seen realm, and to help bring peace to this realm and to help really stabilize us here in consciousness, to know that everything is purposeful. Everything has a spiritual backing. There is a spiritual backing to every single event that's happening in your life, whether it's illness, whether it's you come into a windfall of money or you lose your money and have bankruptcy. Everything has a very specific coding in the non-physical reality that unfolds into this physical reality, you see.
Yes, I love that. In the end, we're going to show your website and your book and so forth and send everyone over to connect at a deeper level. Obviously, we don't have, an infinite amount of time on a podcast, but we get to hit on some salient points. Now, what did happen for you is you went to the other side and you had experiences and you didn't even know what was going on. And then you did it over and over and over. And you go, okay, I'm being taught something. These are purposeful experiences and I can aggregate those together and I can integrate those back into my physical Darnella manifestation, and I can see what my soul purpose is, and I can figure out, why I'm here and what I'm supposed to accomplish, as opposed to just sort of roaming aimlessly. And that's kind of helpful. And so why don't we just do a little of this? Why don't we say, let's go to the other side for a couple of trips that you made that were, the sort of things we really want to highlight, a couple, 2-3 examples of that. And then we'll come back to, okay, now because those things were shown and shared with me on the other side, I've been able to integrate them in and benefit from those in this way. And then folks can kind of relate to that. So I know everyone's waiting for this, but let's hear a couple of experiences. You got to the other side and some crazy stuff that we could never imagine.
Well, I'm going to tell you one, and this is one that's coming up to me, and I'm feeling into the inspiration of what feels my spirit wants me to share with you. I had an experience about 4 months ago. I went to sleep one night and I awakened in a grocery store parking lot. Okay, in my body, in a grocery store parking lot. Okay. There was a woman in the parking lot who collapsed, who had had a heart attack. She'd had a major heart attack. The EMTs, ambulance, I think she was with a family member. Everybody was in, the people around in the parking lot were all frantic. The daughter, I think she was with her daughter. She was hysterical. The woman died. Now, why was I there? This is where I'm going to blend the practicality of what traveling for my experiences are. I was there to help bring her to the other side of the veil. I was there as a guide. When you think that's interesting, you're in a body. Why are you guiding somebody? You live over here and you in Sherman Oaks, California. But sometimes it was explained to me that because you have such a strong foot in the physical and in the non-physical, you can help them, that you can relate to the physical experience. So they're seeing you, but you also have a depth movement in the non-physical world. So I went with this woman, Brad. I explained to her what was happening. I explained what had happened to her heart. She had had a massive heart attack, and she was calm. I was very calm with her in the way I dealt with her. And the next thing you know, we are going across. We entered a wormhole. Looked like we went down through the bottom of the ocean. Her journey was by way of water. Her journey was by way of water. And I went with her all the way. Now, check this out, Brad. When she got to this other world across the side of the water, and this is a place that several entities go. I'm trying to ground this in language so that it can be relatable. I escorted her to a place, it looked like a massive condo or high rise right in the middle of the ocean, right? But a most beautiful ocean, most beautiful water. And what was interesting about this building was that it looked like it was suspended on nothing, but yet here it was. What was very fascinating about it, it defied the law of physics in the sense that when you walk into a room, they had a patio where you open the door When you opened the patio door, you were right, you were in the water, but the water never crossed into the room. It held a line of demarcation and separation. So we were on the water, but we didn't have to touch the water if we didn't want to. It was beautiful. It was really fascinating. And it went up. It went up, 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 up. It seemed like it was, and it was breathtaking. And this woman was getting a welcome. She was being welcomed by, and she had had a son who had passed before her, and he was there. So they had a welcome feast for her. I got a chance, Brad. I don't know why, the good fortune. I got a chance to go to her welcome home dinner. It was literally like like an incredible celebration. And let me tell you, two things I remember from that. Joy that we don't have here, and peace that I have never experienced. There was joy and peace in this place. And I was enjoying it so much. Honest to God, I felt like I wanted to stay because I was like, I'm really happy here, right? And the woman was really adjusting well. And I met someone there, and I was actually connecting with this person and having this very deep heart connection with. And then all of a sudden, I felt a tug. The tug was the pull of my own life force that said, pull me back to my body. Like, and I was said, you have to go back. You have to go back. And I was called back. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I was quite, I remember going back. And what was interesting is I was going back, I was traveling with all the souls who were coming on this side of the veil. We were all traveling together. So that would be spirits yet unborn. We were all traveling side by side. Oh my God, it was the most beautiful. And that one really impacted me and affected me. And I mean, it stayed with me for a couple of days. And I actually had a pretty hard time grounding myself back into the body after that, because I felt like my heart, piece of my heart was over there. I don't know the woman, don't know who she was, but I served as a guide. I also want to share this. I served as a guide several years ago for teenagers who had completed suicide. Now, give you a little context. In this side of the veil, in physical reality, I was working with at-risk youth. I was working with domestic violence shelters. I was working with young people. I was working with the YMCA, the YWCA. I was really doing a lot of work with foster care. So I was working with suicidal teens. And then all of a sudden one day I went to sleep and I entered a hallway, and I was met by a flood of young girls, age 13 to 19. They were all teenagers, and they had completed suicide. And I was there to welcome them and to help ground them and let them know they were safe and that they were loved. That was mind-blowing to me. When I realized there was a cross connection. Think about it. On the physical side, I'm working with at-risk youth who are at risk for suicide. On the other side of the veil, I'm working with those who did it. So you see the majestic interweaving of both realities. That's why I'm saying for my journeys, they've been very specific and purposeful.
Right. No, I hear that. And, I wonder, a couple of questions there. When you were with the woman that had the heart attack and you were kind of on the other side of that frequency space, so did you see her separate from her body?
I did. I saw her rise straight up out of her body. And I just, that was just a wow. I was like, why? And initially I was like, why am I in the parking lot at the supermarket? Like I could come here. I could come here in the morning. I could come here in the body.
Did you recognize the supermarket? Was it yours? Was there any way for you to come back to the physical reality that we experience here and connect with that family and let them know?
It was a well-known market in one of the two towns over from where I live, but I did not go back. I didn't go back. I just honored the experience. I felt that, yeah, I didn't go back. I didn't go try to find out who it was but I want to, can I share something here that's very important? That even that experience had a physical counterpart. What do I mean by that? I was facilitating a healing retreat, October 3rd, 2024, took a group to the Grand Canyon. A man collapsed in the lobby of a hotel at the Grand Canyon. We had just taken the Grand Canyon train, the trailway, and I happened to be in the hotel of all the places in that moment with some of the people on my retreat waiting to use the restroom. They had all the EMTs. They did an amazing job. All the Rangers, they all came. And I saw him lift up and go to the top of the ceiling. Everybody was looking down. I was looking up. I said to the people I was with, he's not coming back. He's up there. And they said, oh, no. Oh, no, no, no. He's going to make it. I said, he's not coming back. Within 30 minutes, this man came to me and said, go tell my wife I'm not coming back. And I said, I turned to my friends and I said, the man that's laying on the ground is talking to me and he's telling me to go tell his wife he's not coming back. And they just turned and they just, they looked at me. And I did. I went over to the wife. They had her blocked off. They wouldn't even let anybody go. And I just said, I said, oh, this is very strange. I know she doesn't know me, but I need to talk to this woman. It's very important. So I went over to her and I said to her, I dropped to my knees. I didn't even know what I was going to say, but I said to her, no matter what you're about to hear, I want you to know that everything is well with your partner, with your husband. He's okay. And I just kept saying, no matter what you're about to hear, because they hadn't pronounced him dead yet. So I couldn't tell her, right? So I just said, no matter what you're about to hear, I want you to know he's okay. And then 45 minutes later, they came over and said, oh, we're sorry. He was in my right ear. Now, here's where it gets really interesting too. There was another person in my left ear, a young man. Now, I hear this man is telling me instructions about the wife, right? Now I hear in the left ear, this young man says, tell my mother to forgive. There was another woman that was with him on the tour bus. And I looked at her and I said, there's a young man here that wants me to give you a message that you have to forgive. You have to really forgive someone you've been holding onto it for a long time and it's destroying your health. The woman turns white, starts crying. Her son was stabbed at the age of 19 in the heart by his best friend. Both of them were in my ear at the same time. That's on the physical side. So you see, I'm guiding here and I'm guiding there. So that's what I mean. It's intention. To my travels are very intentional. And oftentimes they coincide with the work that I'm doing in the physical plane that transfers the skill set, literally the skill set. The universe is just using a skill set, right? It transfers across the veil.
Yeah, and this means that what I'm hearing now is that you act as a medium in that case.
Well, I do, but it's funny. I never say that because I used to make fun of people like me when I was a teenager. These were the people that I would make fun of. We didn't grow up with this. Me and my friends would always laugh at this. And it's funny. I don't normally share that because, I was very resistant to that. But when I look at it, Brad, it makes sense in this respect. When you travel across the veil, your brain changes. Your brain waves change. You have to be able to track this. So of 19 years of doing this, I would just say this. I have a very thin veil between both realms. And that's all it is. I try to ground it and make it not so mysterious and woo-woo. I have a very thin veil. And I can split my awareness into both sides. I can split it.
That with a thinner veil, you can experience both sides simultaneously. And this is
Exactly.
why, folks use the term medium, you're sort of in between, you're a medium between those connections. But also it feels like if that's truly the case, those that are on the other side that know they can use you as a medium or a channel or, bring information through you.
Absolutely. And I've done that a lot. I never wanted to lay claim to that. I don't use that. I don't even normally tell people that. It's funny that it's coming up now because again, my own stuff around it, how it might be perceived. My parents, we didn't grow up like this, but it's been helpful. I was doing a session with someone just to give you a little quick insight. Several years ago, I was doing a session with someone and her husband had died during COVID and he was very young and she was pregnant and so I was just trying to do some support and quantum healing with her and just help her. And after every single thing I would say to her, I would say something in Spanish. And I would say, okay, claro que sí, or me entiendes, or I would kept, and I was like, why am I saying everything? And then I was calling her mommy, claro que sí. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so embarrassed that I was doing that. And you know what? She looked and she goes, "Oh my God. I met my husband in Spanish class and he called me mommy." So literally that was him that was talking. And I was like, what? He was slipping in, he was slipping out in between the beats of me trying to talk to her. And all of a sudden I say one thing in Spanish, one thing in English, one thing in Spanish. I'm like, oh my God, I felt like, why am I doing this? I was embarrassed. It was very significant to her.
For
Yeah.
sure. And it happens. And it, like I said, medium or channels through you. And it's the first time it happens, you're going, why is this happening through me?
Yeah.
I guess later on, as you do this more and more, you might, like you did with the OBE, it might be more tuned and you realize what it is and who's talking and who are they trying to talk
Yeah,
to. Now,
absolutely.
you did mention quantum in there. So I do have a question.
Yeah.
It's like, how did quantum physics and neuroscience studies help you in this regard?
I was fascinated with quantum. Quantum physics helped me because it really, one of the things I was very taken to and absorbed with was the whole observer effect, and that my energy can affect matter and that I can change something. I can change the structure of something based upon my simple observation. And at that time, I felt like I needed to change the entire structure of my entire life, right? Neuroscience came into effect because the brain, consciousness is using the interface of the brain to interact with this reality, right? So this brain and how this brain is wired, the literal program that we're running. And by the way, I've gone offline of the program outside of the body. So I know how much of this we are using this program. That is not who we are, because I've gone offline. When I say I've gone offline out of body, I don't have a name. I don't have an identity. I don't have a race. I don't have an age. I'm nothing. I'm no thing, but I am everything. And so that's how I've come. Once again, that blended into in-body, out-of-body experiences. But the neuroscience has been very impactful for me because I do work with people with trauma recovery and helping them heal from trauma. So neuroscience, the imprint of our nervous systems, the co-regulation from the time we're infants, how we're imprinted, affect the choices that we make, the mates we select, the kind of work we end up doing. So the neuroscience just informs my work. And quantum physics too can maybe make it a bit more measurable in terms of, because people want to know, how is this real? How does she know? You'll hear all of the things. How do you know it's not a hallucination? How do you know it's real? How do you know? Well, I try to ground my work in science just to have some form of measurement. However, I know at the deepest level, what I am sharing cannot be measured. You cannot measure. You can't go and find this dimension where this woman went across the water when she died. I can't take you there and show you, but I know that it exists.
Because it's an experience that you had. And also the notion of the quantum was very interesting, the way you said it, that you'll influence things that you observe, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's, measured.
Absolutely.
For sure. And the neuroscience piece of it too is interesting. The notion of the years 1 through 7 is how all of our experiences program our subconscious mind, and we play that out through the rest of our lives.
Yes.
And it really feels like that's all intentional because we have an intentional life's blueprint, and
That's
that's
right.
set us up to go across that blueprint.
That's right. And the thing is, unless you really understand that, you will just feel victim to your life. One of my master teachers across the veil, and I have many teachers across the veil, from children to animals to inanimate things that you would call inanimate objects, or trees or other things. They teach me. They are conscious. They teach me. But two things that I can share with your viewers today, and Brad, I want to pass on to you as well. Two things keep humanity in a place keep them locked into a place where they can't be fully empowered. And it's what I had to work through as part of my curriculum as well. Victimization. Feeling victim to one's life. Oh my God. I felt victim to my childhood. I felt victim to the trauma of my parents. I felt victim to a system. I felt certainly victimized in all these relationships. I've been in relationships where I was abused, where I was beaten, where I was choked. I mean, I've had some really challenging life experience. So I felt victim to all of those things. And in that, there is an internal rage that rises up, right? But you must transcend victimization or you never get the power. You never get the power. It's like We have a Ferrari engine in this blueprint of our body. We have a Ferrari engine, but we're working through the mechanism of a Volkswagen. You know what I'm saying? So we have to elevate our consciousness so we can get the power of the Ferrari engine. Otherwise, we on the Volkswagen. Or maybe some of them older cars, they had a Pinto. Remember back in my day, they had a Pinto. So, so victimization is one thing. And the second thing is forgiveness. Ooh, forgiveness is a big thing. That was another big curriculum for me. The ability to forgive that which you have perceived that has hurt, harmed, or endangered you. Forgiveness. Releasing the energy of that which you're holding on to, that which you know changed the trajectory of your life. Because listen, we can do things to people in this dimension, especially as children. And because they have that experience, it changes the trajectory of their life. And they know it. And they resent it. And they feel victimized by it. And they don't forgive. That is the way to stay disempowered.
You know, there's a couple of things in there I'd like to dive into too. The notion of victim and then the surrender and forgiveness part. The victim part, first of all, if we have these difficult lives, but we don't know, we set them up, we set ourselves up for that difficult life. We think everything's coming down on us and we're the victim. And if we take that approach, you know, life can be pretty challenging. Yeah. And so if you sort of looked at that another way, if you think, okay, I'm an actor in a play. Okay, so I'm an actor in a movie. Now I take my script and I go, oh man, all these bad things happen to you in the movie. Okay, well, you know, the director wrote it that way, or the guy wrote it. So I'm going to act it out and I'm going to, you know, this whole thing. But when I'm done, I never feel the victim. I feel like I did a really good job executing against the role that I was given as an actor. And so, you know, it's so how do you tell the folks watching now that are going, oh my God, I am a victim of this thing and all this bad stuff that happened to me? It's like, how do you break them out of that?
It's very hard because it's a repetitive mindset. It's a repetitive story. Victimization is a vibration that gets trapped in a subatomic and a cellular level. And once it's rooted in there, then you begin to project the mirror or the movie screen of your life in the form of victimization. Think about people where everything goes wrong for them. Everything just goes wrong. And they're subconsciously and co-creating it everywhere they go, where they are ultimately the victim. So for me, one of the things, I had the great, extraordinary privilege of being on the other side of the veil and literally being taught that I am projecting my reality through the filter, right? And that in the imprint of my nervous system, meaning the way that I was treated, the behavior that I experienced, the things that were modeled to me, the way that I was spoken to, the voice that internalized within me. At a certain point, you press play, all of that pours out. If I'm spoken to critical, I criticize myself and others. If I was judged harshly as a child, I judged myself and I judged others. If I was treated with unkindness, I'm unkind to myself and I am unkind to others. So understanding that on a soul level, for me, I was taught about my soul curriculum and about what my soul came here to experience. And what helped me actually was the understanding that the soul oftentimes works in opposites. Now, what do you mean by that? What does it mean, opposite? So if you came here to learn forgiveness, some people have a very big curriculum in forgiveness, right? That means you're going to experience something that is going to be like the mother of all things to forgive, because that's how the soul makes the journey all the way back. If you came here to know love, you might be born in a loveless environment. The soul makes the journey all the way, has to come all the way back. So you're going to be born into if you came here to know health, interestingly, that you'd be born into the most unhealthy environment, right? You would think, well, if I came here, why couldn't I just be born into love and be bathed in love and then I would know love? But the soul has very unique way in which it likes to evolve and curriculum. And also too, this is going to be really tricky. And I know I'm going to go with it because this is what I've been taught. And I do believe there is a certain something that could be of value. We experience more than one life. We incarnate, reincarnate. We're living and dying. We're being birthed and reborn all over the place, living and dying, right? Even though it's happening simultaneously, because outside of this dimension, there is no time. So you could say, arguably, absolute reality that's all happening now. But however, every single thing that I do at any single point of consciousness originates from here, right? So that means everything that I do stays connected to me. I project it out. If I were to take advantage of you today or do something to you, Brad, or mistreat you, I could hurt you. I could hurt you. But no matter what I did to you, energetically, I remain the source of the origin. So the genesis is always me. So the moment I create an action that creates an imbalance or something in you, at some point, some way, some shape or form, I have to balance that out. Not as punishment, but as balance. The universe does not judge itself. There is no judgment, but there is the law of balance. So that means if I have created something that I'm the genesis of and energy, then at some point in this kaleidoscope of all the things I'm presenting as in whatever lifetime, I may have to balance that energy and be able to experience what I have originated from the side as the experiencer of it and not just as the originator of it. You see, if I've originated abuse, I may have to experience the abuse so I can understand how my energy landed.
You're right. Now, is that oftentimes referred to as karma?
People call it that, and I think there's many definition of what that actually is. I just say balancing because I feel like karma has a lot of deep and heavy meaning behind it, translations, different religions, people argue, debate over it. I don't like to use that word because I think the word itself is a loaded word. I do say simply, then let's say the law, immutable law of the universe, the law of cause and effect.
Cause and effect and balance. I really like balance. So let's talk about that for a minute, because if you don't say karma, like I did something bad and so you're going to have something bad to you, two wrongs don't make a right. Okay. Right. So, but the notion of balance. Now, if something has a lot of negative energy, you might have to balance it out with some positive energy potentially, right? But is it such that there is something where there's way too much positive energy and it has to get balanced out also? If all you do is unconditional love all day long.
You know what? This is so good. What you just offered was a very astute question. I love what you said, because this is the whole thing about positive thinking. Okay. The positive thinking movement. Especially when you're in a field of duality. So in this dimension, right? Like anything below the visible light spectrum, we're in a field of duality, right? Good, bad, hot, cold, black, white, up, down, day, night, right? We have duality, right? The goal in duality, here's the thing, to live in peace in duality, the closer you get to the middle of the magnetized field, the more peace you have, which means you're not so up here on this side, but you're not down here on this side. You can live in the middle of the magnet, the middle of the magnetic field. So the whole concept of positivity, first of all, I do believe that if someone is hyperfixated and hyper-focused on being positive, part of the reason they're trying so hard to be positive is because ultimately at the baseline, they have a negative orientation. So then they have to try to be positive to counterbalance all of the negative, right? Versus just, it's neutral. Because in duality, when you collapse one side of the equation, because one thing the universe is always going to have is balance. It must law be balanced. So if I collapse positivity way out here, guess what? It's going to swing back here. It's going to swing back. I'm not going to probably become neutral. I'm going to go to the side of pessimism. I'm going to give you the best example where you see these laws. Think about the person who's dieting. Think about the person who's trying to lose weight and they're dieting. They're giving up. They'll go days and weeks and months. They'd be on the diet plan. They cheering themselves on. Everybody, "Ooh, you looking so good. You lost all this weight." And then comes that critical moment where they're off the plan. And because they went so far over to the left, they're going to collapse the left. And then guess what's going to happen? They're going to start to slowly come back to the right. They're not going to probably stop at neutral because they went so far to the left. They're going to go way over this side. Now all of a sudden, they got the bag of Cheetos. They can't stop eating. Next time you see them, they lost 15 pounds. They gained back 30. There you go. That's why that happens, because weight loss is not about food. I've always said that. It's not about food. It's about your consciousness. I have a whole plan. This is the kind of stuff I like to share with people and teach. It's not about your food. It's about your consciousness.
Well, this is a key thing because, a lot of people are very sensitive to this. And by the way, it comes down to, the quality of food and maybe the quantity of the food too. And maybe you could take a minute. If you've gone to the other side so many times and realized so many things, you probably understand why we have these physical bodies and how they function and various things like that. Because I know I've heard you talked about the benefit of fasting, right?
Oh,
and so if you combine that with the quality of the water you drink and the quality of the food and the quality of the air, it's like just from a physical perspective, that would be great to focus on.
One thing about fasting is that when you fast, or when I fast, I notice that there is a tremendous sharp rise in my vibration. Once you offload the toxins, the toxicity, the first 72 hours or so, then even my out of body experiences are even much more, they're like rocket fuel, because the vibration and the density of this planet does not hold me or slow progression of my journey. Fasting is a very good way. I do it obviously to help the body heal and repair, to give the digestive, the GI system a chance to rest. But it does directly and dramatically affect frequency, and it affects your ability to attune. It affects your glandular system, and it affects your nervous system. You have all kinds of wonderful resets. It also boosts your immune system. Your immune function is so much better. But yes, in terms of quality of food, absolutely. What you're eating, what you're consuming, obviously ultra processed and processed foods, even red meats, heavy meats, a heavy diet of red meat. I do notice that these things can also impact, right? Obviously, alcohol, nicotine, drugs, sugar, fried foods, like all the goodies of the American diet, right? I was actually given my diet on the other side of the veil. So I was given my diet for me. And again, I don't try to tell people what they should and should not eat. But for me, I was fruits and vegetables, salads, quinoa grain for protein. So I don't eat any meat or dairy. I'm strictly vegan, and I do one raw meal to one cooked meal. So I steam vegetables and quinoa, and then I have salad, and then I do juices, raw juices. And that was the diet that was given to me. Also, too, on the other side of the veil, I was shown that I have to eat quinoa every day, or I could potentially, in the future, develop an issue with osteoporosis. So that's why I do the quinoa. So that diet was given to me based upon my blood type, and it was based upon my vibration. So I think diet is a lot more tricky than people think. There is no one size fits all. So I never try to police what people do, but I will tell you this. How your food is, where your food comes from and how it's created carries the frequency of it. And it's very important, right? And if you do eat meat or something, how that meat has been treated. And listen, even though they may say at certain places they do what they call a compassionate kill with the cow, what people don't understand is in quantum field, everything is connected. So you have cows in line. Let's say you have 500 cows or 100 cows being slaughtered. At the moment of the first cow slaughtering, that cow sends a signal to the last cow in the line. And that fear, that vibration of fear, which is very real, is injected and ingested into the tissues of that cow, because consciousness communicates to each other. People don't think that cows get scared. Everything wants to live, right? Anything is being slaughtered, and they send out a distress signal through the quantum field that all those animals pick up. And you ingest that, and guess what happens? When you ingest that, you wonder why you feel a little edgy, why you a little suspicious, why you looking a little shifty about the eyes, That's because you're absorbing that. I did an experiment, Brad. I got to tell you, it's real important. I did an experiment. I played around with diet for a lot of years, and I grew up, I grew up in a family. We ate, my grandmother cooked soul food. We went to McDonald's. I love me some Arby's. I love barbecue ribs. These are the things, bacon every Sunday. This is the kind of stuff I grew up on. So I did an experiment years ago, and I said, well, because I started having night terrors. I wake up in the middle of the night screaming. Didn't know why. All of a sudden, right? Now, something said to me, stop eating meat. Just try it for 7 days. Stopped eating meat. No night terrors. Day one back on meat, back up screaming in the middle of the night. What was happening was my nervous system Now, I was going through a transition in my nervous system because now I was picking up these OBEs, doing more and more and more. So guess what's happening? My nervous system is getting sensitive, highly, 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 highly sensitive, picking up trace vibrations from not only humans, but animals, certainly everything that I'm ingesting.
You know, it's really difficult because we come onto this planet and, you know, it's kind of a game. It's a simulation, right? It's a computer game. And we have to sort of work within the parameters of the game. And that is, you know, we have to breathe. Okay. First of all, we have to breathe every, you know, a couple seconds for sure, right? And then we have to drink water because we're mainly water. So we really need a good source of that. Those things are primary. And by the way, when you're fasting, those are pretty much the only two things you're doing, except that you also have to sleep. Okay. So I got to breathe, got to drink water, and I got to sleep. Those are really the only three things I have to do to really sort of survive. And, you know, I could go 24 hours, I could go 48, or I could go 72. You know, some people go a lot longer. And that's a nice, beautiful cleanse, and it's great. But then, you know, beyond that, you figure, well, I sort of got to eat too. That's part of the game and part of the deal. So you think about, well, okay, what's been happening on this earthly plane for so many years? Well, people have been, you know, eating animals, right? And then, okay, so, but there's also vegetables and fruit. But then you would ask yourself, are the vegetables alive also? When I cut the vegetable and chew on it, does it also scream and give off resonance frequencies as well?
It does have a frequency, absolutely. And we would be remiss to not acknowledge the frequency of the plant. It does. All these plants have consciousness. So again, that's why I don't give anybody necessarily advice on what to or what not to eat, but simply that what I was taught was that living food carries the highest frequency of light energy. I am light. I am slowed down. I am frozen light, trapped in space-time, creating this form of matter, right? So if I want to get the highest activation of my cellular light, living food is what I was taught is best, right? Because once you expose food to a certain temperature, obviously the nutrients aren't as dense in the food. But yes, I mean, we have to live, we have to eat, we have to be here. But I can't emphasize enough, no matter what you eat, whatever you are eating is a reflection of your consciousness, and it is affecting your consciousness and your body in ways that people don't even know. Some people know it, but you know, and you know, you got to look at just the body and how the body's built and how the body feels optimal, and you know, looking to see what kind of level of health, what kind of energy do I have, and I feel in my body. These bodies are incredible energy systems. They're incredible. I mean, they are miraculous.
And it also feels like, you know, the notion of the power of manifestation. So if I feel like if I eat this thing, you know, item A, this is the best possible thing for me, and I eat it and I think, oh, this is great. Well, you know, it's like, you know, it's going to maybe have that effect on me regardless of what it is, right? Potentially. And so different people might have different frequencies and tune to different things and make different decisions. But it does feel like along the way, making the best choices for yourself, you know, is probably ideal. Now, we are living in this crazy world with this limited brain and these limited five senses. We're sort of inside this sort of meat puppet running around having these experiences where when you get to the other side, well, you know, the meat puppet's gone, unlimited awareness and so on. So that seems like home. It feels like for some reason we chose to be birthed into this experience and die out of this experience, transition back, right? So now let's go over like why, who created this game and why did we choose to get over here? There must be some benefit for our soul to come here and be laundered through this experience.
Absolutely. And I love that. They're absolutely. And the key is you have to really look for the benefit. Otherwise, you'll just feel like you're just in prison and in hell. At the end of the day, it's this incredible notion. And think about the game, right? The greatest trick that God could ever pull on itself is to forget who it was and go through the fun of remembering its God self. So kind of like, let's raise the stakes. Now, what we have to understand is that the human plane, or the earth plane, where humans are here, is one of the most difficult dimensions of all. Being on earth is not an easy thing. And actually, if you're on earth, you have a certain level of skill set just to even be able to incarnate onto this plane, right? Because being in the earth plane, especially now, this is the era of awakening. This is the awakening, the great awakening of humanity. This is said to be the time where the greatest rise from the lowest, most dense forms of frequency and vibration, we are making the greatest rise right now. And one day outside of space-time, it will be celebrated, that we will be celebrated, that we walked to the earth plane during the time of the Great Awakening. We are here accepting all kinds of crazy curriculums, right? Whether it's addiction, the loss of loved ones, depression, anxiety, self-loathing, self-hatred, all these curriculums, right? We are here to know ourselves, to wake up to ourselves, to transcend and transmute the vibration of victimization, and to come to extract and to awaken and to pull up and expel this thing called God within. We are here to do that. We are here to put the God in the greatest challenging environment and find its strength, its brilliance, its light. We are here to play the ultimate game in matter, that we make the greatest rise. That's why we're here. Evolution, the experience of it all, and how it grows us to live through these things.
And how many people know that? And maybe it's of those that do, is that number increasing?
Well, that's a funny word. No. I've always said, because people say, I know. You know, I hear, I know. I always say, it's not what you know, it's what you can demonstrate. It's not what you know. We can know something here, right? But do we know it in here? And then if we know it in here, can we demonstrate it? Can we express it in form? That is to know. If I can demonstrate it and express it in form and then have mastery over it, then I know. Otherwise, this is just some philosophy we're spitting around between me and you on a conversation on a Saturday afternoon. It's philosophy, right? So, you know, that's the experience. We have to know it for ourselves. Like me saying all of this stuff is great. Some people will like it, some people won't. But you being able to have your own experiences, that's where the change takes place within your soul. See, I could tell you what it is to be a Black woman. I could tell you all day because I've been one all my life, as far as I know. But you would not know that, the shoe, unless you actually walked in that experience, right? And that's the soul. The soul said, you know what? I want to know it from the experience of it. And I want to walk through the valley of the shadow of the death. I want to walk through the bowels of hell, potentially, to know it. And here's the thing. We've been everything. We have been everything. I believe we've been everything. I've seen multiple incarnations of my own journeys out of bodies. I've been wonderful things. I've been horrible things. I've done beautiful things. I've done awful things, right? And I've got a chance to experience myself in all of these facets. We're everything. We really are everything.
And to get to know your soul is to understand that really well, because the soul is up there. It's almost like the puppeteer, the puppet master, you know, with all the different little puppets on the strings, and they're all having these unique experiences, and they roll right up to the soul. So the soul effectively has been everything.
Absolutely.
Well, I got to tell you, Darnella, I got this next section that I call Heart's First Whisper. So it's really some questions I set up ahead of time to really get to know you better. And it's kind of a speed round too. It's just a few questions, quick answers.
Okay.
And what do you think?
I love it. Okay, let's do it.
Beautiful. Okay, here we go with number one. When you strip away all your roles of author, teacher, and traveler, who are you in just a few words to yourself?
I love this question because I ask it all the time. I'm light. I am light. I am a little teeny piece of God, but even a little teeny piece of God is still God itself.
Oh, yes. We are the spark of the flame for sure. Yeah, it's beautiful. All right, cool. Well, thank you. And number two is, what has heartbreak taught you about the way love really works in this universe?
I can tell you one thing it's taught me for sure, that it's not outside of you, and that you can spend a lifetime searching for it and begging someone to love you. You will make no true traction until you begin to approach the temple within and dare to get to know and love yourself. I've been all over the world for love, literally all over the world for love. There is no redemption until I return to myself. That's what heartbreak has taught me.
What is your advice or your trick for folks to stop looking outside and to truly look inside, and not in an egotistical way of I love myself, in a way which is true love?
Well, for me, the inspiration was pain. I mean, I was in enough pain. I was driven to my knees in pain. And sometimes pain is that thing that pushes us and pulls us into our next best self. So I would say first and foremost, you have to be willing. And I think you have to be really honest about if you're willing, because for many, many years, I was not willing. I was not willing to stop my habits and my patterns. I had to really look at that. And I had to stop looking at that with so much judgment, because you don't feel good about it. And really give myself compassion and grace, and really look at why I was doing the things that I was doing, and why I was engaging in these behaviors, and why I kept trying and focusing upon finding this person, that, and I just on and on and on. And I had to give myself some grace and some love. And one day I just woke up and I just said, you know what? After going through this and this and this and this, I am finally willing. I'm finally willing, my God, because I have to know before I leave this planet that I've at least tried to do right by myself. And my definition of that, doing right by myself, is just reclaiming and recalling all of my energy and learning to approach myself from a kind place.
Yes, I agree. And I, it's sort of like you feel like you get to a point where you just hit rock bottom so deeply that you finally surrender.
Yes.
And you surrender to, there must be some reason I'm here, and it's got to be, and it's about me. And what's sort of funny, and this is maybe a trick that, we could use or not, is if you, for a moment, you thought everybody else on this earthly plane is just, a simulation, and I am the only person here. And so they're here for my benefit of experiencing, but guess what? It's all about me. Now I have to love me and think of me, and what can I, and come from there first. And then you'll find compassion for yourself, and maybe compassion for everyone.
Absolutely, Brad. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I love this. And it takes us right into a very nice transition into question 3, which is, can you share one moment, either here or in another realm, where you felt so deeply loved that it changed something in you forever?
I had many moments, but there's one that is one of my favorites. I was having a particularly difficult time, once again, dealing with these men. Lord, that's been the curriculum, okay? Don't judge me, people. But dealing with this guy, and I had a lot of anxiety in this relationship. It just was so much drama. And I was just not, I went to bed very disturbed, very, very, very disturbed. And when I went to sleep, I appeared in another dimension. And I was it looked like a mountain that had steps. And from the top of the mountain, I saw a man coming down wearing all white, and he had a guitar, which I love. I love acoustic guitar. It's my favorite instrument. He had this acoustic guitar, and he was playing this song. And as he walked past me, he was singing. And this is one I've tried to replicate. I've never been able to do. I've tried to go back here. I've tried for a long time, never been able to go back. But this man walked down, and I'm gonna just give you a little note of what he sang to me. Of course, it's not gonna sound as beautiful as he did it, but I want you to get a sense of it. This man was walking and playing, and he came to me and he sang, "You are the universe. You are the universe." And when he finished, all of a sudden, I dissolved into the particles of the universe, and I felt so much love that I felt like I would spontaneously combust, like I couldn't even hold it all. And so if I feel anything frustrated, or I feel like I'm having a difficult day, sometimes I'll just sit down and I'll just sing, "I am the universe." And I'll remember what it was to be held like that. That is memorable.
Yes, that's a great example. And what's really fun about that is it's tied back to music and frequency, right? Because everything's a frequency. So I think people that haven't even been to the other side have a song that really sends tingles through their whole body and tears out of their eyes. And, and the memory maybe of a moment that happened in the past when that song played. So that I think a lot of people can really relate to and know and feel that love when they need it most, potentially. Bring it back, Beautiful. Well,
Yes.
that brings us
Yes.
into number 4. When you think about your soul curriculum in this lifetime, what lesson are you still gently learning right now?
Oh, I love that you said gently. I want to laugh at gently. You know what? I'm going to tell you what it is right now. My curriculum was really bottom line. And I love this song when I was in high school. Whitney Houston said, a song I used to drive down the streets blasting through my old Pontiac radio in my car. Learning to love yourself. It is the greatest love of all. That is what I came here to learn. And part of loving myself now is being courageous, sharing my stories and my teachings in a more public, a wider arena. Not being afraid of what people might say, how people might look at me or judge me, but walking the love that I am forward, bringing forth the messages that I have received, the teachings, and doing it unapologetically. And, like trusting that if someone is meant to hear it, and if it's for them, they will feel it right here in the middle of their heart. They will know it. So it's, but love has been my curriculum. It's really been about loving me, learning how to love myself, accept myself, know that I'm good enough, just that I'm enough in every capacity. That has been the most painful curriculum. I think I have spent, in full transparency, Brad, like so much of my life just feeling like I was not good enough, was not enough, that no one would value me, that no one would really see me. That was my whole curriculum, to come into the awareness of being able to see myself.
Well, the challenge in this day and age with being hyper-connected and ads and TikTok and all that stuff is everyone looks to the outside world to figure out how they should measure themselves, right?
Yeah.
It's like, no, don't look outside yourself. Don't look outside yourself for others to decide how worthy you are.
No, you can't.
No.
Can't.
So do not do that. Look inside yourself and realize you are worthy of all the love in the universe, as it were.
Yes.
Well, speaking of love and unconditional love, here's a question number 5, which is there an animal here or on the other side that feels like a soul companion for you, and what have they taught you?
Oh my God. Well, I have a deep connection to felines. I always say I am feline. I have had my animals that have walked with me in this lifetime. Cats. The cats. I always see cats. Matter of fact, just this morning, my most recent OBE, we're getting real time. I was being guided by a cat, and it was a black cat. But the interesting thing about this cat, it had wings. I never saw a cat with wings. But, I often call to the cats. I intentionally started calling them. I called to them in ceremony. I call the lions, the tigers, the jaguars. I call the cheetahs and the snow leopards and the bobcat. And I just call all of these cats to me. And plus my own cats, Malibu and Sunset, who are on the other side of the veil. Cats have taught me unconditional love. Cats have taught me boundaries. The cats teach me boundaries, but more than anything, the cats open my heart center. Which the cat was working with me this morning when I was out of body. It was working through the heart chakra. It was opening my heart to love. Because in that place, I can feel the purest form of love that expands beyond me when I am with the felines. And they're my family, they're my soul family. And they travel with me often. I see them actually several times a week. Almost every night, cats are coming. All kinds of cats are coming.
Well, the pet lovers, love that, right? The pet owners, I should say.
Yeah.
They love the fact that, and then I know you've mentioned other times that you will see those pets as they pass in this physical on the other side, because they too have a soul.
Absolutely. My 2 cats, my cat I had 19 years, Malibu. He passed 2023 of June, and he works with me. He's still with me. He's with me. I call him every night, actually, before I go to sleep. When he was in the physical, I would tap my chest and he would hear me, and no matter what room in the house, he would come. That was how I called him. And I still do that out of habit at night. I'll tap my chest, and that's my invitation for him to come. Sunset, they are my guides, but more importantly, they're my companions. They have been the reflection of love, maybe even love that I never found in humans. I found in the feline family. So my cats are my people. Literally, my cats are my people. I know it's an oxymoron, but when I make my transition, I know I will be met by the felines because that's how I've set it up. I've already seen that.
And you wonder about that because this Darnella life had a few cats and you would meet those, but your soul, remember, has manifested untold number of lives, which could have untold number of pets.
I've seen some of them. Yeah. So I know that that's one thing that I will look forward to. I will be even more so. I don't know if this sounds bad, but it's just my truth. You know, I'm looking forward more to the felines than seeing the humans. Like I call in my feline family. You know, I'm guided by the lioness. You know, that's my spirit animal in this lifetime. Lioness is a very fat, really interesting animal because she is so strong. And she also is the primary hunter, but she's also the caretaker and the nurturer. But lionesses, in the way that they hunt, they're very smart, and they each have a role in the hunt. And they're just superior, man. They're just superior. I don't know. I've learned so much from them, and I celebrate. Oh man, felines everywhere. So shout out to all my cat lovers.
There's no debate there. But I would ask you this, based on what you just said, if you had a particular human person in this physical realm that you had a problem, you know, a tragic experience with. And by the way, maybe that was set up in a contract pre-life planned and part of your blueprint. When you get to the other side, you would probably ran into the soul of that human and you'd find, you know, love and bliss potentially.
Yeah, you do. And you have, because you get full disclosure in those contracts on the other side of the veil, whereas you're veiled here, you may not always understand, but on the other side of the veil, you'll understand. And there is, and I want people to know if they had a difficult relationship with someone who's transitioned, trust me, when they get to the other side of the veil, things open up and they understand more. And you will too understand more about certain difficult relationships that maybe you don't have access to here. So that's important to know and remember.
All right, that's great. Well, and that helps maybe this next question too, number 6, which is really if a listener is on their knees right now, grieving, exhausted, or feeling unworthy, what simple truth would you want to whisper into their heart?
I have so many people reach out to me that are, you know, there's nothing more challenging than a curriculum where you have had someone close to you transition. The interesting thing is no words will make the difference from what I can say, but in frequency, if these people were to take a moment and to be quiet and to be still and to expand their heart energy as they think and reflect on this person. And if they're very, very still, they will feel their energy respond. And nothing can take away the pain of someone transitioning. There's no nice flowery words. However, there's a peace and a grace that is offered to you, but you have to be quiet and still to receive it. If that makes sense. It is there. And they are with you, and and I know people hear that all the time. Yeah, I know. But no, they really are. And they're attuned in a way that they were not here in the physical reality. So you can invite them into your dreams, because generally when the consciousness is lowered in this dream state, it's easier to make contact. Grief is a barrier, though. If you're in heavy, heavy, heavy grief, it can be really hard to penetrate the fiber, the energetic fiber of grief. So, you know, it's really trusting the divine timing that you will get signs, symbols, and messages, because they are moving heaven and earth literally to try to get them to you. So I would just say to someone right now, be open to the message that potentially may come through.
Beautiful. And, you know, as we wrap up here, I would say it's perfect timing to talk about how they can come to you for additional information.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I want to say, and thank you. I always have this book here because this is something really important and special to me. This is The Next Breath. Speaking of death, 2021, I was called to the home of a dear friend who was a student of mine. I was mentoring him for several years. We traveled all over the world at healing facilities and did lots of things. And he took his life on November 4th, 2021. And I was there when the coroner cut him down and pulled him out of the bathroom. And it almost broke me. I mean, I went through a very, very, very dark, very heavy period. And I almost abandoned the healing work because I literally felt like I had failed in the fact that he ended his life. And I was his closest person and his teacher and his mentor. And I one day sat down as a writer. I've always had a history of writing. You know, my background started out as a writer. And I wrote a book to help myself heal from the grief. And I blended it with my out of body travels. It's called The Next Breath: Life After Loss and Journeys into the Hereafter. It is available on Amazon. If someone is hurting, grieving, or going through a hard time, please, I said to my best friend, if I could beg anybody for one thing, I would beg them to read this because it's very special. I'm going to be launching something I would love to invite your viewers to January 11th, 1/1/2026. By the way, 2026 is a year of spiritual expansion. It's going to be a lot happening in the frequency in 2026. But I have something called Soul Ascension Sunday. I'm going to be facilitating online live interactive sessions every Sunday. And it's going to be a multi-dimensional portal into the exploration of OBEs, mystical experiences, but also nervous system resetting, childhood imprint, and trauma. And this is for people. So many people reach out to me and say they feel disconnected and they feel very lonely and they don't have their tribe. They don't, they feel like they're kind of free floating out here in the world. This is for people that want to find a home, that want to find a community, people that want to have like a heart to heart connection. So they can reach me by way of email, and I'd love to be connected to anybody that felt inspired to reach me and send them the information around it and invite them to be a part of that community. Soul Ascension Sundays. My website is journeytoworthy.org. And it's just how it, journey, JOURNEY 2TO, worthy.org. And they can reach me through there, or just my name, Darnella at journeytoworthy.org, which is just DARNELLA. They can send me the email directly there. So I always invite people. I do quantum healing sessions. I don't like to put this out here like this, but I do split consciousness and can communicate. I've done some incredible work with people who have family on the other side of the veil. I don't like to lead with that because, again, but that is a gift. And I'm being more open to sharing that now with the world.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, Darnella, obviously, with when a person has a single NDE, oftentimes they come back with these additional gifts and a thinner veil. And if you're going to do your OBE for 19 years, I definitely can appreciate all your gifts. So thanks for the website and the book and the upcoming activity that you have.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll also suggest to our viewers that if you go to bradpetersonshow.com, my website, put your contact info in the contact form, which is your name and address and phone number required for shipping, right? Hit submit. I will send you a copy of Darnella's book. Okay. First handful of those that come flooding in. What? Oh yeah.
Oh,
I'd love doing this.
Oh my God. Thank you. Oh my God. That's so, my heart is really touched by that. Thank you for that. Oh my God. Oh, no one's ever done anything like that. Oh my God. Thank you, Brad. I made it through this whole podcast without crying. I'm like, not going to start crying now. I made it through the whole podcast without crying. Can I offer something as we close? I want to gift this to you, and I want to gift this to the viewers. I was given a frequency code out of my body. I traveled up into the heavens during a particular time when I was having a very difficult time with my self-esteem, my sense of self-worth, not feeling wanted or loved. And I was given a song that was sang to me, and I started working with the frequency of the song, and it actually helped heal a lot of self-esteem things. So I'm going to sing you the song. I'm going to sing the song to the viewers. So I just ask you, wherever you are in your heart and mind, if you just feel comfortable and safe, you can just close your eyes right now and just allow me to sing the frequency of this song. So
as long as you're not driving your car, right?
As long as the viewers are not driving. Yes, if you feel safe. Oh, Lord, please don't be driving. Darnella told me to close my eyes and I ran into a tree. No, please don't do that. So this is the song. And again, from my heart to yours, gifted to me from the heavens in the choir above. Okay. You're amazing, wonderful, beautiful, brilliant. You're amazing, wonderful, beautiful, brilliant. You are, you are, you are. You are amazing, wonderful, beautiful, brilliant life. You're amazing,
Wonderful.
wonderful,
Well,
beautiful, brilliant life. Thank you to the viewers. Brad, you get like extra points and an extra star for hanging in here with me through these internet. And thank you to the viewers. And this was a blessed event. Thank you so, so much.
oh, a
So
blessed event for sure. Darnella, you know, I got to thank you for walking us through not just the beauty out there, but the work of actually living it here in
Yeah.
relationships and grief and worthiness and how we treat animals and how we
Yes.
talk to our own souls, right?
Yes.
I'm definitely struck by a few threads weaving through everything you shared, that trauma can be the doorway that breaks us open, that our lives are shaped by the frequencies we live in, and that
Yes.
from the soul's vantage point, death is not a failure. It's a perfectly timed transition, right?
That's right. That's
And,
right.
you know, underneath it all, the message you keep giving or getting from wizards and dragons and children and wolves and friends on the other side, all that really matters is that we love.
Love. Love. That's
It's the greatest message ever.
That's it.
Thank you,
It is the greatest
Darnella.
message. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to the viewers. Thank you so, so much. So beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. And, you know, to our viewers, you know, if Darnella's insights moved you, please like and subscribe and share. You know, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, hit it now. And then all these future episodes will come into your inbox. You'll love it, right? And, you know, if you leave a note of how this made you feel in the comments, I get in there on all the comments. I reply to every one of them. And if this episode spoke to your heart, you know, pass it along to someone who could
Yes.
use a little light.
Please.
And until next time, yes, keep questioning, keep exploring, and go beyond the illusion to discover your true self. So take care, everyone, and bye for now.